So Stephen, I'm going to ask you a threshold question right out of the gate. When picking a neutral, how do considerations differ if you're selecting an arbitrator or a mediator?
Hi, everybody. I've always wanted to be a New York lawyer, so this is really quite flattering. And for those of you who haven't looked up the dictionary definition of acumen, which I just did, we all know what we think it means. It really does describe skills necessary to be a good arbitrator, effective arbitrator or mediator. So you picked a good name for your new outfit, and the ability to make judgments quickly and decisively, the ability to apply common sense. I mean, I think that sort of fits within what we like to see in any fact finder or any neutral that we engage. So thank you for that end.
Let me ask you a question to lead off here.
To make that pitch doesn't land.
From the perspective of outside counsel, and how do
in over the 40 years, I've done a lot of that, and I use that expertise to inform my decision-making in arbitrations, as well as to inform the conciliatory efforts I make in mediation. So, Bill, thank you for inviting me.
Mediator predominantly in employment disputes, and I also do a little bit of arbitration consulting, where companies and firms hire me to give them guidance on who to select and best practices and advocacy with respect to arbitration. Today I'll primarily come from the mediator perspective, but if I have something to add in the arbitration perspective from my consulting experience, I will add that.
I'm Michael Lampert. Thank you, Bill, for the opportunity to participate. I'm now an independent arbitrator and mediator. For the period before that, I was Deputy General Counsel of a global financial services company. Before that, for 30 years, I was a commercial litigator in both arbitration and court litigation. And I've tested negative for COVID every second day. I am, however, at the tail end of a cold, so you'll pardon me if I'm sucking on a candy and will occasionally take a swig of water to keep my voice for this experience.
Thank you very much. So why don't we kick it off? We've all heard about the cost-saving benefits, the efficiency, the convenience in the move from in-person pre-pandemic to where we are now. But what have we lost?
You know, with many parties.
Quick war story from each of you in the hybrid connection.
More. In 2015, after having been re-elected in 2012, Judge Silver presided over the newly created mediation part known as JMED, where he certainly proved that his reputation of the settlement judge was indeed earned. Judge Silver currently is a mediator and arbitrator for Silver Star Mediation and Arbitration, LLC.
Thank you, Elfrida. So I'm Susan Salazar, been practicing employment and labor law for over 20 years, and in the past 5 years I have been teaching mediation for a seminar at the School of Law, and I teach MPHD.
Be it the lawyer, the adversary, or the actual clients, you know, because a lot of...
Hello, I'm Laura Latin.
To serving the community, to mentoring so many of us was apparent to all. He was not only a great friend and colleague, but an inspiration, because Chuck truly demonstrated the highest levels of professionalism, compassion, and commitment that I think all of us strive to emulate. Many of you came out in September to a special memorial event that we put on in Chuck's honor at the Bryant Park Grill, and you heard from Carmen Rodriguez and Simeon Baum and others speak about Chuck and his dedication to the profession. But what I think I'll remember most was the eloquence and grace of Chuck's wife, Libby, who spoke about Chuck's deeply intense commitment to mediation and how his getting involved in mediation really changed his life. Libby, unfortunately, is not able to be here today because of a long-standing professional commitment. commitment to a client, just the way Chuck was. Our section has done many wonderful things over the years, but I think this award in Chuck's honor, at least to me, in recognizing individuals who meet Chuck's characteristics, is definitely high on the list. The award recognizes the ADR practitioner who exemplifies the qualities of Chuck Newman: a devotion to the profession, brilliance of mind, generosity of heart, community-oriented, selfless, creative, compassionate, a mentor to many, and a teacher to all. One thing I know that Chuck would have appreciated was the amount of time we spent debating that description. The selection of the recipient of the Chuck Newman Award was made by our executive committee after a unanimous recommendation by a special committee that evaluated many nominations. I personally was in awe of all of the nominees, but I think we all agreed one stood out, and that was Dr. Maria Volpe. Now, I knew Maria was an extraordinary leader and pioneer in dispute resolution, but until fully reviewing her bio, I didn't realize just how extraordinary her achievements and commitments was. Dr. Volpe, I'm going to give you a very abbreviated version of her bio and her accomplishments, because I could spend 2 hours going through them all. Dr. Volpe is Professor of Sociology, Director of the Dispute Resolution Program at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, the City University, CUNY, and Director of CUNY Dispute Resolution Center, a university-wide center focusing on dispute resolution, research, and innovative program development. She's an internationally known scholar. She's lectured, researched, and written extensively about dispute resolution practices, particularly mediation, and has been widely recognized for her distinguished career in the field of dispute resolution, including a tremendous number of awards. I'm going to just name a few. 2017 New York State Council on Divorce Mediation, Lifetime Achievement Award, 2016 Arab Students United, 2015 James Jones Diversity Award, 2014 Faculty Advisor of the Year, 2011 Frontline Champion Award, Association for Conflict Resolution of Greater New York Award, 2008 Lawrence Cook Peace Innovator Award, 2008 Network for Peace Recognition, and the list goes on. And I just learned today that Maria was named a recipient of the DRI 2022 Service Award for her work in furthering diversity. Not only does Dr. Volpe teach, she practices what she teaches. She mediates conflicts in educational settings, conducts dispute resolution skills training, administers grant-funded projects, and facilitates for a wide range of groups. At John Jay, she created and facilitated town meetings, Cops and Kids dialogues, Muslim, non-Muslim student dialogues, Black-Jewish dialogues, intergenerational dialogues, and Asian American student discussions. Since September 11, she initiated an NYC DR listserv, the monthly roundtable breakfast that so many of us have participated in or had the pleasure of observing, and a variety of other dispute resolution, public awareness initiatives. If we had a couple of hours, I could recite all the organizations Maria founded, ran, or participated in, and all the boards that she sits on or used to sit on. But I have to say, over the years, I've seen a lot of bios of people with tons of awards and recognitions. I don't think I've seen one with a more impressive combination of awards, scholarly articles, and incredible research. Dr. Volpe's research focused on police use of mediation, dispute resolution responses to disasters, roots of diversity in the dispute resolution field, barriers to minority participation, the role of religion in reconciliation, conflict resolution in higher education. Now, selecting Maria as the recipient of this award, it was easy, but finding an appropriate award was another story. This required an intensive search, and who better to conduct that search and find a fitting award and the founder of our section, Simeon Bem, who with the help of Lori Mandel managed to come up with the actual inaugural Chuck Newman Award. So Simeon, I'd like to ask you to join me and Dr. Volpe, if you would come up, in presenting the 2023 Chuck Newman Award. You're going to be shocked to find that Simeon has something to say.
I just would like to say, with thanks to Lori and also to Ian Kakuli, who's been in the back taking pictures the whole time, that we really enjoyed searching for this award for you. And one of the distinctive characteristics of this vase, you might see, is that it's got many colors in it. And if anything is appropriate as a gift to Dr. Volpe, who spends so much of your life promoting understanding and diversity, the multicolored aspect of this certainly, I think, adds to its meaning. But that's not all. I'll make it quick. You know, when Chuck Newman passed away, before he did, he invited me to talk with him and do the eulogy. And he and his wife Libby, who would love to be here, really enjoyed the quotes from the Doubted Shape about the leader as a follower. And this is a vase. So here's a quick quote from the Doubted Shape. Shape clay into a vessel. It's the space within that makes it useful. So your capacity to promote listening, that waiting capacity to absorb, makes this all the more appropriate for the person who you are. So thank you on behalf of the dispute resolution section. And thank you for that.
Our response would be, yes, yes, yes. You're being honored for being you. And just sit back now and listen, Chuck, till this is over. I got an email from Chuck while he was attending this conference stating, and this was 2 years ago, almost to the date, you and Marvin Johnson just got a shout out from Gail Wright at the NYSBA DRS conference. He would be texting or sending out emails, so that's why I encouraged him to sit back and relax while we honor him. Many times when we are honored, we don't know the person whose life and work we're being recognized for. That will be true in the future when successor Newman Award recipients will not have had the pleasure of knowing Chuck. That is not the case this evening. I'm going to take a few minutes to share some thoughts about a person who we, in the collective New York City dispute resolution community, loved, admired, and truly miss. For a little over a decade, it was an honor to be Chuck's colleague. He immersed himself in all of the New York City dispute resolution-based organizations, local and state bars, local and state divorce mediation organizations, ACR, GNY. He practiced mediation in local, state, and federal court settings, and he volunteered for a wide range of dispute resolution activities. After his passing, a very long list of adjectives was used to describe Chuck in the many postings that we saw, particularly on the NYCDR listserv. And those adjectives included indefatigable, talented, skilled, thoughtful, competent, diligent, warm, funny, kind, genuine, detail-oriented, generous, humble, passionate, among many others. All of these adjectives came alive in the work that he did. I would add curiosity to the list. There wasn't much that he wasn't curious about. It would take a whole conference for us to reminisce about the Chuck we knew. I know since over the years, I got to know him in many contexts, but I'll only share 3 that illustrate how all of those qualities that are attributed to him played out. First was his presence on the NYCDR listserv. Early in his ADR career, he discovered the NYCDR listserv that I administered. His first posting was on June 19, 2010. As anyone who knew Chuck knows, he loved interacting, communicating, and sharing. Once he found a huge electronic community to connect with, he was all in, online and behind the scenes. Everyone got to see his online postings. As the listserv administrator, I was the beneficiary of Chuck's unsolicited and amazing wisdom on a regular basis. He would start his messages with, "Maria, this is just me," or "confidential," and then he would proceed with his thoughts. He was a self-appointed caretaker of the listserv. He reached out to those who posted, especially when we had those flare-ups. Chuck was always there with all of his passion, intellect, and curiosity to help, explain, to explore, and to soothe. And then he would report back to me about his behind-the-scenes ventures. He cared deeply about people's views, feelings, and about ways to make talk work. Second was his participation in the New York State Council on Divorce Mediation support group, which met on a monthly basis at John Jay. Initially, he was an attendee, and then when the convener was going on an extended trip, Chuck took over for about 6 months before he then thought, this is a lot of work, and he suspended them. But what was most memorable about the experience was the attention to details regarding the safekeeping of the council's banner. You know those banners that kind of roll into these tubes? Well, they had a banner. He had to make sure that it was ready for each month's meeting. At the same time, ACR-GMY also had a banner, and both organizations left their banners in my office. I can't tell you how many emails I have that are devoted to those banners. Here is an example of one he sent to the then ACR-GMY leaders, and this was May 27th, 2013. It's a little long. I know we have a roll-up ACR-GMY banner squirreled away in Maria Volpe's office. John Jay is going through renovations, and they keep threatening to temporarily move Maria to a nearby building. I'm sure Maria doesn't mind keeping the banner, even while she's displaced. But think for a sec about the amount of stuff stored all over the place in Maria's office and her department's area. In the temp space, I don't know how easy it will be to find the banner, at least for the first time. And it won't be the same building as where most of our events take place. It just occurred to me, so I'm passing it along. Mind you, this is at 12:05 in the morning. By the way, the New York State Divorce Mediation Council also keeps a banner with Maria. In their sleeves, and he referred to the covers as sleeves, they virtually look identical, but the organization is somewhere on the outside of each sleeve. He had put little tags on them. If you grab one, check to make sure it's ours. And this was to the ACR-GMY leadership. And third, and most importantly for me, was his work on the monthly roundtable breakfast. As many of you know, I started the listserv and the breakfast in the aftermath of 9/11. Until 2007, they were sponsored by the CUNY Dispute Resolution Center that I run at John Jay. By 2007, when I thought we should move on, it was Julie Denny, who was then president of ACR-GMY, who suggested that we continue with ACR-GMY as a co-sponsor. And once Julie stepped down as president and was no longer on the ACR-GMY board, we asked for a liaison to the board. That is when I really got to know Chuck. It's probably been it was about a 10-year journey that we shared. Where do I start in sharing what it meant to work with Chuck for a decade on what is the equivalent of organizing and holding a monthly conference? Chuck became the wind beneath our wings. He paid attention to every detail. Everything mattered. He was omnipresent and omniscient every step of the way. He loved the opportunity to bring people together over coffee, bagels, and a good speaker when we met in person until March 2020. He was there to welcome everyone. In April 2020, when we went online due to the pandemic, he was the leader of the informal networking time that we replicated online every first Thursday of the month. And he did that until April 2022, while he was dealing with his serious health crisis that none of us knew how very critical it was. When word got out in mid-April that he was in hospice, he wondered what would be said about him after all those years of welcoming and being the leader of the chat. Chuck stretched our limits. As many of you know, Chuck loved NPR, and after listening to his favorite programs, inevitably, he would send me an email suggesting that we invite whomever he heard to speak. And I was the designated recruiter for the cold calls that were to be made. And my messages to some of these individuals that he identified was something like, "Dear XYZ, we have a group of conveners who consider speakers for a monthly round table each month for conflict resolvers. One of our conveners heard your NPR talk and suggested we consider inviting you." He found ADR connections with many people who he thought would be interesting speakers. Here's just one example. In February 2020, he wrote to me and said, "Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has several ADR things in her background, not least working for Ken Feinberg when he had the 9/11 distributions. What kind of coup would it be to get her to speak at a breakfast? We're booked through the likely time of her confirmation, hearing, and vote, but she probably won't be elevated to SCOTUS, if confirmed in brackets, until June. Then, the summer coast while the court's not in session. Of course, she's already a sitting judge, so there's even more problems, but can you imagine?" In closing, I, as many of you in this audience, was very fortunate to have known Chuck. He made a difference and became a pillar by just being himself. We all learned from him. He was always grateful for being a part of the community. In September 2021, he wrote to me and said, "Thanks, Maria, for being a big part of my life and the lives of so many talented and committed people." And then sent another email where he said, "Great to be paddling with you." Well, I end my comments here by saying to Chuck, thanks for being a huge part of our collective dispute resolution community's life, and so great to have paddled with you. Thank you so much.
I miss Chuck, and I'm sure many of us do. So we're going to close, I think, Jeff Anderson, Chair-elect, who has a few closing remarks, and then I look forward to joining you all at the reception, and I'm sure many of us do. So we're going to close, I think, by hearing from Jeff Anderson, Chair-elect, who has a few closing remarks, and then I look forward to joining you all at the reception.
Noah said a few, and it will be a few, I promise. First, Dr. Volpe, congratulations. Through your words, I felt as though I knew Chuck and had known you for many years. What a fitting tribute to have this award and to have you be the inaugural recipient of the award. What a wonderful thing. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I'd especially like to thank the program leaders. First and foremost, Chair Noah Hamp for putting this together, for guiding it as he's doing everything in this section in such an exemplary way. Thank you, Noah. Gloria Mandel, a wonderful panel. It was just an amazing conversation. It could have gone on several more hours, as you and I talked about in the hallway, and that's a sign of a great panel. So thank you. Bill Crosby, a wonderful panel on hybrid ABR. Well done, and a great substance and a great program. Alfreda Kenny and Sue Salazar, thank you both for great moderating.